All right, welcome to another backup or bonus episode of the Retro Game Club podcast. My name is Hugh, and joining me all the way from Toronto is Rob.
Yeah, I am. What am I doing? I'm eating poutine. Is that a Toronto thing?
It's a Canada thing in general.
Yeah, I mean, Canada is literally a few miles from me right now, so you think I would know.
Yeah, now Toronto's a great city. I don't know if have you been there?
Many times. I love that city.
Yeah, I think I've been 3 or 4 times. I'm trying to remember. It's bad when you lose count of things like that. I mean, some of this was for work, so I don't know how much I count.
A lot of times we'll drive to Toronto for shows or just, anything.
But the thing about Toronto is you don't have to eat Canadian food because it has like one of every ethnic restaurant on like every street.
It's so. The last time my wife and I were there was probably 6-7 years ago, and I used to go all the time, but kids ruined that.
Yeah.
I would go at least once a summer. We went for a pop convention, like a comic book convention. I think it was Wizard World or something. And afterwards, we went out to get a bite to eat, and then to hit up some bars. And the place we went into looked pretty good, and we looked at the menu and we're like, wow, this place is great. And we're talking to the owners, the bartender, and we're ordering some amazing food. And then all of a sudden people start kind of crowding out front of the restaurant.
Okay.
And I'm like, they start picketing. And, I asked the guy, I'm like, what's going on with these people? And they're like, oh, they're protesting the restaurant you're in right now. And, I was like, why? This place is great. You're so nice. And he's like, well, we have horse on the menu, and these people think that's bad. And again, I'm not pro or against horse eating. I have no knowledge. I have never eaten horse. There was a couple in there eating it, and so that's my latest Toronto story. It was kind of fun walking out of a place being protested and being like, I don't know what's happening here.
So it was a French place?
I don't know. I guess the name was French, if I remember right. Yeah, I forget what it was called. My wife would remember. But I do think I remember it having a French name.
Okay, all right. I have no moral objection to horse. I mean, if you're going to eat other animals, maybe there's some like hierarchy of, where there's some cutoff, but I don't know what that is. All right. So anyhow, we're talking about this. This is not about the ethics of eating meat.
Yes.
This is about a game show that takes place in Toronto. It's the 4th installment in our video game TV show series. And this is something called Video and Arcade Top 10.
I assume you've never heard of this one.
Never. No.
I discovered this. I'd never heard of this one. I discovered this on, what's that Twitch channel I watch? Old timey computer show where they just have old programs running all the time. And this was one of them. I was like, this show's great.
It is. Of the 4 shows we've reviewed, this is definitely the most well-produced one.
Yeah. How would you describe this one? It's similar to the one we did previously.
I mean, the basic concept is similar to, what was it, Video Power?
Yes.
We literally talked about it like 2 minutes ago, even though you're hearing these a few months apart.
Yes.
Where, you have kids, and they're competing against each other to, in a video game who can achieve whatever the goal is of that particular segment. Meanwhile, there's a lot of cutaways. There's like 3 different hosts, and they all are, you doing different things. One of them might be describing the mechanics of the game. There's another one who just seems to be going through like fan mail, right, or fan feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And then like a main guy who doesn't seem to be in the same studio as everyone else sometimes. And he makes sort of general announcements.
Is that the guy that looks like Fred Flintstone?
The Fred Flintstone sort of looking guy, yeah, a little bit. He Fred Flintstone.
He also looks like Nick from the contestant from Video Power that grew up, who was also named Nick.
Yeah. I don't suspect it's the same person.
No.
I would say like the only criticism I had of this show was that it seems like there's a lot of filler.
Mm-hmm.
Like the show's 30 minutes, but I think the intro ran for 3 hours.
Where they're just talking about what they're about to talk about.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's just a whole lot of talking about going into restaurants that have horse or whatever as a setup to talk about a show that takes place in Toronto.
Yeah. Yeah. I would argue that these hosts were the best so far out of all the previous shows we talked about.
I would say Starcade is still my favorite because that's the most game showy host of everybody.
Yeah, that's it does feel like a 80s game show kind of host. Yeah, these are more trying to be hip. But these guys are definitely on the ball though. I should say two guys and a woman.
Yes. Yeah, when I looked at the IMDb, it looks like they changed hosts fairly often.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, the female, like when they hit the cast, there was like the show ran for 8 seasons, and I think there's like 8 different female hosts. and it looks like the male host changed often, but not as often.
Oh, I'm gonna have to watch a lot more of these because I really did enjoy this show. So this one specifically was episode 305. We'll have it in our show notes. So yeah, everything in this show was Nintendo. 100%.
100%, yeah. No references to, this is PlayStation era, right? And they're clearly not playing any PlayStation games. These are Nintendo games, and I think they were only playing Nintendo exclusives, Nintendo 64 exclusives.
Yep, and the only prizes that weren't Nintendo were more digital watches and laser discs.
Yeah, so you brought up, actually, wait, were all the one of the Star Wars games was on multi-platform. We can strike that. But anyhow, the laser discs, it's funny because you put in the notes like, were laser discs more popular in Canada or something? So I Googled it, and if anything, they were less popular. I found a lot of articles about people writing about how hard it is to find laser discs in Canada.
Wow. So you would win this as a prize and be like, cool, now I have to find a Laserdisc player to play this.
Yeah. Like I can go into Goodwill, and I do fairly often. And at the average Goodwill, there's 240,000 Laserdiscs.
Mm-hmm.
Depending what kind of area you're in, I'm in Chicago suburbs, Highland Park, that kind of area. There are a lot of people about Laserdisc players. Maybe if you're in, Idaho, someplace where they don't get all the latest technology right away, maybe you don't have Goodwills filled with Laserdiscs. I suppose by now, like it was a different era, like in the 80s and 90s, cutting edge technology, which I guess Laserdisc was considered, started in like big market towns and didn't necessarily make it to every town. You don't have a Walmart in Boise that just carried the same stuff that every other Walmart had.
Yeah.
So you had to go to like I don't even know who sold Laserdisc players really. It wasn't like regular chain stores. You had to go into like some place with a fancy name, didn't you?
I don't really remember seeing them around. Like maybe Sears had 1 or 2, but they weren't really stocked, I don't think.
Okay. Well, I can tell you that the closer you get to like North Shore, I'll use that term in quotes, basically northern Chicago suburbs, like the amount of laser discs you find, like you go to half price books, there are going to be hundreds and hundreds of laser discs, and you go to like a Goodwill, there's going to be hundreds of laser discs. So I think that is the area where there was a high concentration of laser disc owners. That's interesting. I guess next time I'm out of this area, I'll just stop at a Goodwill and see if that holds true, that there's just mountains of laser discs in other cities. Like I'd imagined around like New York and LA, you would find tons of laser discs. And no disrespect to Boise, Idaho, I'm sure it's a wonderful town. I bet they don't have mountains of laser discs.
Yeah.
Because of the way these things were sold at the time. Of course, Boise has PlayStation 5 and all that stuff now because of like Walmart and Target being everywhere.
Laserdisc, I had a friend that had Laserdisc, and it is the most annoying medium because you have to get up and like, oh, I guess half an hour's up. I guess I have to walk across the room and flip this so we could keep watching it. Or put in disc 2 and then flip that.
Yeah.
But anyway, video games.
Yeah. So this was, again, a Nintendo 64 focused episode. They played Star Fox 64 and was it Rebel Assault? That's the one. That's on something called like Rebel Assault is on many different systems.
And then Shadows of the Empire too. was on
Shadows
this
of the
one.
Empire, right? So 2 out of the 3 were Nintendo 64 exclusives.
Mm-hmm. And they kept saying Baba Fett during this one.
Yeah, it's probably the Toronto way of saying it.
It could be, yeah. But this was a very Star Fox 64 episode, and the one after this one too was like all Star Fox 64. I do remember that game being all the rage when it came out. Like they were really pushing that game.
Yeah.
And it was
I
impressive.
think it included like a music CD, if I remember. Well, I have the music CD, so it must have included one.
Did you like that when it came out?
No. I mean, they're okay. They're fine. I'm not sure. I bought it probably when Nintendo 64 stuff was being cleared out. I definitely didn't buy it when it was new.
It's definitely my favorite Star Fox game for sure, like by far.
Yeah. I mean, I don't play a ton of games like that. I like the Rebel Assault games. I played a ton of.
Yeah, those are great. Shadows of the Empire was fantastic too.
Yeah, that's on my backlog. I have that. I've heard it's great. I have the hint book for it. I don't even remember buying it, but I have it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I guess if I get stuck, I don't have to go onto the internet.
Yeah. When she announces Shadows of the Empire, she says, "It's a game. It's a movie." Actually, it's just one of those.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little. I mean, there's a story. It's like it's based off like a Star Wars book, right? A book that was considered canon at the time, but now maybe isn't.
Was it? I thought they made up all that just for the game, and then maybe everything came after. Let's Google this.
Okay, hold on one second. Yeah, I thought I worked in I was like night manager of a bookstore around then, and I thought it was. I remember the book being out. I guess I couldn't tell if it was before or after the video game. It says the book came out April 1996 in hardcover.
Oh, it was part of a multimedia campaign.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, because I remember there being like toys and stuff.
Yeah, so I guess it all kind of got released at once. Huh, this is cool. Oh yeah, I think I have this comic. Yeah, for sure. Oh, I'm going to have to go through all this stuff again. I'm going to get sucked back into pre-new canon, pre-Disney canon.
Yeah, because it's sort of filling between like Empire and Jedi, right? Because there's clearly a lot of stuff happens between those movies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Luke goes from like being, really, really green Jedi, right? Like he doesn't, he loses, gets his hand cut off. He's clearly not anywhere near Darth Vader's level to like having a pretty good command of like the Force and stuff at the beginning of Jedi.
Yeah.
There's this whole like convoluted plot they've come up with to rescue Han Solo. Like things have happened.
Craig, do you agree with me that what's the Star Wars stuff that's not canon anymore? Is it called Legends? Is that what it is?
Something
like that.
Yeah.
Those are the best Star Wars stories, right?
I don't know them all that well.
Okay.
I haven't followed too many of the other books.
Okay. I read a bunch of that stuff back in high school and early college, and I still think it was some of the best stuff. But anyway.
Yeah, I know it was really popular. Anyhow, Shadows of the Empire. So it's a game. It's a game with a story. It had more story than the average Nintendo 64 game.
And you do have a Star Fox comment in here.
I do. Oh yeah,
Your second.
One of the kids playing Star Fox looked like he was going to cry the entire time.
He looked almost like the controller had razor blades, like duct tape to it or something.
Yeah, I think he was doing badly. Like maybe he is actually kind of good at Star Fox, but wasn't doing well today and was really upset about it.
Yeah. And the kids that won, they got to pick a prize, like a number out of a garbage can.
Yeah, that was so weird.
And then the prizes were horrible too. So I just thought, like, since the prizes were garbage, they're like, I don't know, let's use a garbage can. Because there was nothing good. Like, you didn't get anything good.
No. What did he win? He won hint books, a stack of hint books, right?
Yeah, and they seemed like old hint books too. Like they almost looked used.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if he won but there was stuff like NHL '94 hint book,
Hmm.
which, I mean, like the secret to being good at NHL '94 is knowing which hockey teams were good in 1994.
Hmm. Yeah. And then at the end of the show, there was some kind of contest. I forget what it was, if you had to mail in or something like that, but you could win this Mario van to come over to your house for your birthday party.
Hmm.
And the van was filled with like Nintendo consoles and Nintendo games. And it looked like there was a bunch of swag that would come with it. And they would also like, it looked like they would just give you some money to order some pizzas too. Like they didn't say like it comes with pizzas. They were like, and we'll like, I don't know, throw in some pizzas or something.
Yeah, yeah. There is a thing like that today. There is like a video game party truck.
Oh yeah, those are all over. But back then,
I don't remember seeing one of those ever. Yeah.
no, yeah. I mean, this is legit cool. That would have been the best birthday party.
Yeah, yeah. Depending what time of year your birthday's in.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, can you pull that in my garage maybe? It's freezing here in Toronto.
One of my neighbors had like one of those party trucks. Have I mentioned this on the podcast?
I don't think so.
I have. Well, I had this neighbor, lived at the end of the cul-de-sac across from me. And just one day he had one of these. It was summers. Because I remember it was unbearably hot. So I didn't stay for this thing very long. And he just had like parked one of those party trucks in the middle of a cul-de-sac. And it had like a bunch of like, it had 4 TVs. But like that time of year, it was like baseball and NASCAR were on. There wasn't like, I don't know if it was NASCAR. It was auto racing of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
So there wasn't like, but it had like a satellite receiver to pick up sports stations. And then if you walked in, there was a kitchen with like a bunch of grills. So the outside was TV screens, inside was kitchen, and then it had like a bunch of fridges and stuff. And he's just like, hey, anyone in the neighborhood want to come over, have, some hot dogs and Bud Light or whatever beer came with the party truck. And this is what I'm like, so what's the deal with the party truck? And this guy, for the context, this guy's job was he had a garage and he did like a lot of like classic car restoration kind of things. It's like he would have these crazy cars in his driveway all the time. Like some rich guy got like a Mustang that he wanted when he was in high school from the 70s,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he'd get a junky one, and then this guy would like, spend 3 months restoring it. Right? But he was like, oh yeah, I did a job for this guy, and he gave me this party van for the weekend. Whatever.
That's so weird.
Yeah, he was. I don't know if this was like he was paid in the party van, or the rich guy that he restored the Mustang for just happens to have this party van. Whatever. He just had a weekend little impromptu party with it. But yeah, it was so hot. It was definitely middle of summer, because it was like one of those days where, you break into a sweat the minute you step outside the house.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, if you have yard work, you do it like first thing in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, anything else to say about, what's this show called again? Video and Arcade Top 10?
Yeah. So yeah, this, like I think we mentioned before, this ran for 8 years. Pretty impressive run. So it spanned multiple generations.
Mm-hmm.
So great. Must have. I mean, again, I wasn't, not being raised in Canada. I did not even know about this show. We mentioned the prizes being kind of bad, like, compared to the other things we've talked about. Yeah, I guess. I mean, like Starcade, you could win an entire arcade cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
And Video Power probably had the best prizes, because you did all the games you can duct tape to your body, or however that worked.
Yeah.
And like Throut and Neck, you basically just won whatever they had laying around the studio that day.
Yep.
Like, we found this was supposed to be delivered to some other show, but we have it now. Right? There's a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, here's just a random black backpack. Doesn't say Jan Sport. It's not a brand backpack. It's just a backpack that we found. You win this.
Or it was like some swag a vendor gave them that no one wanted that worked there, and they're like, we'll just give it away to someone.
Do you have a family member that gives away free swag that they get as like Christmas gifts?
No,
Okay.
That seems not ideal.
Oh, I have one of those. But I did get a free windbreaker, like a golf windbreaker from a vendor, so I gave that to him for Christmas one year.
That's
I'd
funny.
never worn a windbreaker before. And I'm like, yeah, he's getting that windbreaker.
I am that person that, because of my job, I have to deal with a bunch of vendors.
Okay.
And you know, a lot of them are like, you know, Google or, you know, their competitors, stuff like that. And
Yeah.
each time we sign with one of them, that's one of the first things I don't get embarrassed about it. I'm just like, is there any swag you send me? Send me some cool stuff. And Google sent me the best stuff.
Okay. So I had one other, what did I, oh yeah, the best prize, ironically, went to the kid who had his letter read on the show. He wrote in a letter and he won a free Nintendo 64 game.
That's right. Yeah. And he got to pick the game.
I don't know if, did
yeah,
they say that? Okay.
They said any of the games we played today, just write us or call us and we'll send you which one you want.
So it'll be any of those 3 games, all of which are a good pick.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So out of our 4 games out of our 4 game shows we've done so far, if I had to rate them, thinking back to, as myself as a 90s kid.
Yeah.
I mean, first I'll do them in reverse order because I already know Throut is last.
That's last. Yeah, I agree. There's it's one of the worst shows I've ever seen. And I apologize again for making people watch it.
Then I think I would do this show only because, like you said, there's way too much filler. And then Starcade, then Video Power. I think I'd do Video Power number 1.
Okay.
Simply because
I would do it a little different. I mean, I would have Throut and Neck last for sure. Mm-hmm. And then I would probably, you know, no disrespect, I'd probably have Video Power second to last only because it's like so hectic. I think it's going to like cause me to get a migraine. They
are screaming at you the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I would probably have this second, even though it's like the best production. Mm-hmm. And just from a sentimental standpoint, Starcade is really hard to beat. That is a show that I will put on in the background pretty often.
It's really well done. It really is.
Yeah. I mean, that was also like a real game show production. This one though, this video game top 10 out of Toronto it was very well polished, you know, like it just came across as a real professional production. And, yeah, I just think overall, I did go to the IMDb page. I could not find anybody associated with this show that's working today, at least not in media. They're probably all gainfully employed doing some Canadian thing, but it's not TV.
Yeah, they're probably all managers and maybe in media still, but yeah, not an IMDb credit type situations.
Yeah. The other really weird thing, I don't know if you caught this, it was towards the end of the show. They had a thing where you could write in to win a copy of the White Town CD.
Oh, yeah.
So they were a one-hit wonder. They were actually British. I thought for a minute they must have been Canadian.
Yeah.
Like this was just like, because like on Canadian media, there's sort of like rules about you have to have some representation of Canadian culture. So I thought that's why it was on there. Mm. They did reference Mike Myers once. So I figured that was their Canadian reference for the show. And no, it's like, here's this one-hit wonder band. And their one hit was heavily based on like a sample anyways. I feel like one-hit wonder bands where their song is either just like a cover or a sample of another song, I feel like that shouldn't count. They should be demoted to like half hit or something.
Yeah, I agree.
Like there's just something like, I mean, like Soft Cell, right? They had one hit, it was a cover. They shouldn't be counted as a one-hit wonder. They should just be nobody, right? Like you couldn't even write one good song. And I can't write one good song either, right? I could only be a one-hit wonder if I like took something really catchy and sampled it, you know, the catchiest part, and then got someone to rap over it or whatever. I suppose that would work. That's actually a decent formula for producing a one-hit wonder, which is kind of what White Town did. And like, that was just a weird thing. It was like, write in and you can get a free copy of the CD that
has nothing to do with anything.
Has nothing to do with the show, nothing to do with video games.
Yeah, that's really strange. I mean, I think this was the same studio that Much Music was out of. And Much Music was, Toronto's MTV,
Mhm.
and possibly, there was some tie-in, doing a favor for one of their sponsors or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it could have been. It could have been because this wasn't. I mean, I know their like one hit was on the radio like all the time in like 97 or 98, whenever that was.
Now, are there any other game shows that we know about? Video game shows?
Probably, yeah. I didn't really research this too well.
Yeah, neither did I. We just kind of threw these together as just in case episodes.
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty more.
So we might do them. But seriously, I would really wish someone would make something like this on Twitch or something.
Well, let's see here. There was the Frogger game show. I thought that never got produced.
Yeah, I thought that got canceled too. Or
There
just
was a
not
show
made.
for kids based on where in the world is Carmen San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the problem is you find like just a list of like of things. You either find like a list of video game shows, meaning like, the Wheel of Fortune games.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm having a hard time finding game shows centered around.
MTV had a Rock Band Guitar Hero game show.
No, not interested.
No. Game Farm was from 2003. We're just reading lists here. I guess that was on Nickelodeon. Yes, and I think we got the big ones there. Battle of the Video Games was from 1988 with Lou Ferrigno and Heather Locklear. Scott Baio, hard pass.
I would probably watch that.
Yeah. Battle of the Video Games. So put that on your YouTube list.
Yeah. All right. So any other thoughts on this Canadian game show?
No, I'd just say, please keep emailing us about what you think of these episodes. Email at retrogameclub.net. And we have no idea when this will air. So it might be really hot outside right now. We may be surrounded by Armageddon locusts. They may be raining donuts. We have no idea what the future holds.
Yes, this will be out at some point. And maybe by the time it's out, we've already recorded like 3 more game show episodes, and it's not limited to 4. Maybe someone told us about like... Now, again, there's the show, the thing that Retro Game Challenge is based on, of course. Someone's going to write in to tell us about that.
Mm-hmm.
So Retro Game Challenge, and I don't think that was a game show, really. Retro Game Challenge is based on like a show where it was in Japan, where a guy would try and beat these games that are notoriously difficult. But I think it was just that guy. I don't think it was like people competing to win prizes.
Huh.
So I don't think that would count. It was called like Game Master or something like that.
Was that there's a Game Master, I think, isn't that British?
This is definitely Japanese.
There is a British Game Master for sure. And
Okay.
I
I could just be mixing the names up.
Maybe we'll do that one. That one, it just leaves a weird taste in my mouth, which might be a good reason to do it. It is a very strange show.
Well, if there's any suggestions, send them to us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and Bad Influence. That's the one I'm thinking of too. Okay, we already have 2 more here, and they're both British.
Okay, good.
All right, I'll put them on our list, but I guess until next time.
Yeah, thanks for listening.